Hello, everyone, and welcome along to the latest episode of the TurfCast podcast pre-game show with me, Joe Redmond. And, of course, we're looking ahead to the Arsenal game. It kicks off in, 2.5 hours' time because we're live. We're unusually live today for the pre-game show. And that's because we've got somewhat YouTube royalty on the channel today, everybody. It's Robbie from AFTV. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. Looking forward to the game.
Yeah, I bet you get fed up of being introduced to sort of like YouTube royalty and things like that, though, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
I'm thinking to yourself this morning, like, I'll say it, but I know he'll hate it, but I'm going to say it anyway. But it's good to get you on the channel, mate. It's thank you for reaching out and obviously asking me to do something for AFTV. You know, it's an honour. 1.3 million subs, I think you've got now. It must be madness over there for you, like with how busy you are and stuff with it all. Yeah,
it's just really busy at the moment, and this season as well is crazy. So many games. You know, you seem to be playing a game every couple of days. And it's actually unusual this week because we haven't had a game since last weekend. And I think that's one of the first times that that's happened for ages with us, because we normally got a European game during the week, or then there's another Premier League game, but we didn't actually have a game during this week. So, it's been unusual.
Yeah, it was similar for us recently. Like, we had a massive break, and apologies for swearing, but before the Tottenham game, and that didn't end up working out very well for us because we got smashed 4-0. But yeah, it's been the same for us. It's just been, the turnaround has been insane. So for someone with less than 400 subs, I'm finding it absolutely ridiculous in turnaround of content and stuff. So you must be finding it really difficult. But there's not just you. There's obviously DT as well who helps out. There's the guy that shouts "fam" all the time and things like that. So you've built sort of like a little community around the channel, haven't you? Which is good.
Yeah, there's we got a big team now. We got a studio down in London, which is just like this is where we are at the moment. Which is probably just about 5 minutes walk away from the ground. So we just moved into here in November. So it kind of helps out in creating content. The only problem's been is that obviously we ain't been able to get in here to do anything recently. Not on a regular basis because of the lockdown, but we are starting to kind of get back in now. So it's great. It's great. And following the club that we love.
Yeah, well, that's the dream, obviously. So fair play to you, mate, for doing so well with it. I bet you didn't imagine you'd do so well with it when you first started. I thought you probably had backed yourself, I imagine. But 1.3 million subs and moving into a studio in London, that's the stuff that dreams are made of. So well done, mate. So you should be proud of yourself. But let's move on to the actual game. Then I've done praising you. Let's move on to the actual game. Obviously. Let's talk about your season, to be fair, before we move on to the game, because it's been outside looking in. Yeah, exactly. You scoff at that. It's been a little bit of a poor season. Like I said on your show yesterday, I feel like you finally might have started turning the screw a little bit with 2 good wins, but you're still 10th in the Premier League. So talk to me about your season so far. Outside looking in, it doesn't really look too good, does it?
No, it's been a horrendous season for Arsenal. Especially at the start of the season, there was quite a little bit of optimism because, we won the FA Cup, and the way we won the FA Cup as well. We beat Man City in the semi-final, we beat Chelsea in the final. Didn't finish off great in the league, but then the season started and there was a bit of optimism. But then quite quickly we started to realise that there's lots of problems. There was a lot of deadwood still at the club. A lot of the players that they wanted to move on, like Mesut Ozil and Socrates and all these sort of players, Mustafi, they didn't leave in the summer. They're all still at the club. There was a lot of bad vibes around the club, around the team, and it showed in the results on the pitch. There was no sort of pattern of play with Arsenal, which is very unusual. We've been kind of known over the years of a very attacking team. We went to a very sort of defensive style of play, really. Where we're always playing with 2 holding midfielders and no sort of attacking midfielder. And the performances, it wasn't just the results that were poor. The performances were poor. And I remember actually, I think the game against you guys when we played you at the Emirates kind of summed up the performances, because Emirates has always been a real stronghold for Arsenal over the years. Even when we've not been doing that great, not many teams come to the Emirates and get one over us. But it just seemed like everybody was coming there. And, we had a horrific result against Villa where they put 3 past us. Then we had the game against you guys lost that 1-0, the Aubameyang own goal. And there was just no pattern of play. But then all of a sudden, just before Christmas, Mikel Arteta brought in Emil Smith-Rowe, who's like a young player from the academy. He came in, started playing in that number 10 position. We got a great victory over Chelsea at home, and then we started going on a great run of results. It's dipped again. It's been a weird season. It dips and then it picks up, then it dips and it picks up. But the one thing I would say now is that we've, since the new year, we've got rid of a load of the deadwood, and the pattern of play has returned. So we're playing good football now. A couple of the defeats that we had been a bit unlucky, really. I think there was a result where first half we were brilliant against Wolves, but then we got a player unfortunately sent off and we end up losing that. But on the whole, some of the performances, when we get it together, we can put in a good performance. The performance against Leeds where we put 4 past them. Yeah. The performance last week against Leicester where, we went to the King Power Stadium, put 3 past them. So when Arsenal get it together now, they can, you are now starting to see a pattern of play. And there are some key players that were injured earlier on in the season starting to return. Kieran Tierney, vital player. Saka's on form. Aubameyang starting to hit a bit of form. And Thomas Partey starting to come back into the team. So there's a lot of optimism that hopefully we can finish off the season strongly. Yeah. But it's been a poor season. A team like Arsenal, the ambitions is to make the top 4 minimum. And it doesn't look like we'll make that this season.
Yeah, well, that brings me on brilliantly to the next question. Obviously, we're getting loads of comments coming in. Packmaster has asked whether or not you think you can get top 4. Now, I'll just put my point across. I think you're at the stage of the season now where I think you can, like I said, start turning the screw a little bit. I think top 4 will be a little bit of a push, to be honest. But it's one of them now. Do you concentrate on the Europa League to try and get in the Champions League that way? Or do you concentrate on the Premier League and try and finish as high as possible? Because you could still get 6th, maybe. Like, what do you think you can achieve this season now?
I think the remit from Arteta will be try and get into the top 6, at least. I think the top 4 is too difficult. When you look at the teams that are up there, they've got points on us. I mean, nothing, this season, nothing's impossible. All it takes is for a team to go on a run. And then look at Chelsea. The other day, they were below us. They've been on a run of good wins, and now they're up into the top 4. But you have to go on a run. You have to put like 4 or 5 wins together in a row, and then you can quickly move up the table. That's the way it's been this season. You look at Man City earlier on in the season, everybody was writing them off. But then they've been on this unbelievable run, and now they've run away with the title. So it's all about if we can put a run together, which is something that we haven't done this season. We'll have like a couple of wins, then we'll draw a game or lose. It's never sustained. But if you can put a sustained run together from now till the end of the season, I think the top 6 is possible. I think top 4 will be too difficult. And I think the way, if we're going to get into the Champions League, is we're going to have to try and win the Europa League, which is equally as difficult because some very good teams left in there, But, Arsenal do have a decent pedigree. We've got to the semi-finals and finals before in the last 3 seasons. So it's possible. It's possible.
Yeah, well, that brings it on brilliantly. I was just going to ask this. We just had a comment from Jamie Budd. He says, Robbie, would top 6 be a good season if you do well in the Europa League?
Not really, no. Not. Do you know what? The funny thing is when I looked at the teams at the start of the season, right? I mean, I went into the season saying top 4. And then after a few weeks, I looked at the teams and I said to myself, if I'm being 100% honest, are we the 4th best team in the Premier League right now, player for player? And the answer is no. We don't have the squad yet. So top 4 really would be an overachievement. Top 6, we should be getting into the top 6. But, if we won the Europa League, that would be a good season. Yeah. But the season in the league has not been great. But if we won the Europa League, got back into Europe, especially with fans hopefully coming back next year, that'll represent a good season. Because I think this is a really really strange season as well. You know, I mean, I think we do have to take that into account. I mean, look at Liverpool at the moment. I mean,
yeah,
you know, that was a fortress Anfield, wasn't it? And now look at it. Everybody goes there and just gets a win, you know? So it's a really strange season.
Yeah, you can thank Burnley for that. I think we officially brought Liverpool when we went there and actually shithoused them. I think we officially broke them. Billy, question from Lewis Porter. I will ask Robbie that later on, Lewis, when we get onto the actual game. But I want to talk to you about Arteta, Robbie, because there seems to be a lot of indifference amongst Arsenal fans about Mikel Arteta. Some people want to give him time. Some people want him gone. Where do you stand on that? Because has he had enough time now? I think Chelsea's a good example of what happens if you bring a very good manager with a good pedigree and who's already achieved a lot, whereas Arteta's a good example of a manager who you will have to give time if you want success. So where do you stand on the Arteta's debate?
I'm still behind Mikel Arteta. I feel that, you know, he does deserve more time. Remember, he does have a bit of credit in the bank because he won the FA Cup last season. So he's won a trophy, right? And so there's a lot of managers out there that are being talked up. They haven't won anything. You know, so Mikel Arteta came in, he won a trophy. I think he's had a lot of issues, as I sort of was talking about earlier, to deal with this season. Lots and lots of issues would have made his job really, really difficult. And I don't think we're going to see a Mikel Arteta where it's his team, where that is the team he wants until the start of next season. So I think I'll judge him more harshly next season, but I think for this season, with the amount of problems around the club that we've had to deal with, I feel that, you know, he deserves more time. And also, the season's not over yet. You know what I mean? Who knows what he could do? Nobody thought we'd win the FA Cup last year. I mean, we were it was very poor last year as well. And we managed to get a trophy out of it. So, but definitely I'd be looking to say, unless he had an absolute disaster from now till the end of the season, I've seen enough there to think to myself, yeah, this guy deserves a chance, at least a full season next year with a pre-season, with his own players to see what he can do, because I think he is a good manager.
Yeah, fair enough. Pat Master just commented, Robbie, are you Arteta in? I think that answers the question there, Pat Master, at least till next season anyway. I want to get your opinion on Burnley as well, because I like to get different people's, you know, different backgrounds and different clubs, their opinion on obviously my club. And it's been a difficult season for us this season, obviously a little bit worse than you, obviously further down in the league, currently 15th, 16th. I can't remember off the top of my head. I tend not to look at it as much when we're not doing so well. But as you said, it's been a strange season. We've had a few injuries, but it's one of them, isn't it? I think we still have our identity, you know, we're going to be solid and things like that, but it's been a little bit of a tough season for Burnley. So what are your opinions on Burnley and Burnley this season as well?
Yeah, you know, I'm not just saying it because I'm on your channel. I've said to a lot of people before, I've got a lot of respect for Burnley because, you know, when you look at the players that they have, you know, when you look at the size of the area, I've been up to Burnley many a times to watch games there. You know, I think there is. I don't think there's no other team in the Premier League that punches above their weight as much as Burnley. You know. There's no superstars, but yet still, I don't know how Sean Dyche managed to do it, but he has all of them like on the same page. You know what I mean? And I think, you know, when I look at some of the other teams, like you look at a team like a Newcastle, and I was listening to the radio the other day, and I heard like some guy saying, "Oh, well, they ain't got the players," and I'm like, "Well, hold on, mate. You do have a lot of good players. You know, you've got Callum Wilson, you've got St. Maximin, you've got, you know, you spent a lot of money. I mean, all right, Mike Ashley may not have given them Man City money, but they have spent a lot of money. And then I look at a team like Burnley, I'm like, no, there's no excuses for those teams. And, you know, and he does it every year. You know, Sean Dyche, you know, I think he's a very underrated manager. I met him last time I went up there to Burnley. We were sort of filming and he came out at the end, you know what I mean? He seemed like a nice bloke as well. But I just think that with Burnley, you know, all right, I know they're not Man City in their style of play, but I think with the players that they've got, you know, you got to fully understand that. And he's got a style of playing and it works. And they're a Premier League team and they've been a Premier League team for a while. So I've got a lot of respect. I've got a lot of respect for Burnley. And I think a lot of them other teams around sometimes that are whinging and talking about, not having the players and that. I think they need to look at Burnley and look what they've done. Because as I said, even, I'd say, all right, I'd look at a team like Sheffield United. They don't have as good a players as Burnley, no. But all the rest of the players down there, all the other teams down there, I think they do. And they have more spending power. But they just don't put together a team that fights where every single player is fighting and every single player is on the same same hymn sheet as the manager. So I think
refreshing to hear that, mate. Obviously, obviously I'm a Burnley fan, so I'm going to agree with you. Daesh is the most underrated manager in the Premier League for me, if not the entire country. He's what he's done we're finishing the Europa League places, not long ago, for God's sake. I've seen Burnley in Olympiacos play a competitive match. I went, you'd have never thought that when I was growing up, wearing this shirt when I was like 10, 12, whatever, that we'd have ever been there. So yeah, I totally agree. He's
I think brilliant. As I said, I think you've got to have a lot of respect for that guy. What he's done, and as I said, I never hear him moaning. I heard the other day.
He has a bit of a whinge sometimes.
You got like a new owner now, so I think like he's trying to tap him up for a little bit of money. So that was the first time I heard him talking about like buying players and money and stuff like being available there. But he doesn't really moan. He kind of gets on with it. I'm kind of like that about him. I kind of like that. And the biggest compliment is that they are a Premier League team, and I can tell you as an Arsenal fan, and I speak for a lot of the other fans of the bigger clubs, nobody likes to go to Burnley. It's a tough game. It's tough. Even though in recent years we've had a decent record against you guys at Turf Moor, that's always a tough game. Every fan going up there, you speak to fans before the game and you're like, yeah, we should get a win today. But nobody's like, yeah, we'll smash these lot. It's going to be tough. It's not going to be an easy game.
It's it sets us up well, definitely. It sets us up well. On the subject of Burnley, we've had a question from Simon at Hair Socials. He says, if you had to take any Burnley player back to Arsenal, who would it be?
Ooh, there's a couple, there's a couple. The goalkeeper, Nick Pope, I think should be the England goalkeeper. Yeah, definitely. I don't understand. I'm baffled when I see, Pickford starting in front of Nick Pope. Number one, he's a giant. And number two, he's a brilliant goalkeeper. Absolutely brilliant. He should be England's number one keeper for me. So we've got a great keeper in Leno. So that's the only reason.
Well, it's funny you say that. I'll just stop because someone has been asking quite a few times, who do you rate the most, Pope or Leno?
Do you know what? We've got a brilliant goalkeeper in Leno, right? And so I'm happy with Leno. I wouldn't want to swap him, but I have to say that to me, Pope's same levels. If Leno left tomorrow and Pope came in, I wouldn't be unhappy because Pope's a quality keeper. So the only reason I wouldn't take him is because we've already got a great goalkeeper. I think Tarkowski in defence is he's an excellent centre back. I really like Chris Wood. Chris Wood is a handful, And sometimes I look at Arsenal, I think we don't have that sort of another option where we can bring off the bench sometimes in a game, or we get a lot of crosses in, but we don't have that physical sort of big traditional number 9 like a Chris Wood. So I really like Chris Wood as well. I like that Dwight McNeil as well. I think he's a very. I could see him fitting in an Arsenal team. The way in which he plays and that. I like him. So you guys got some good players there. And I wouldn't take this player at Arsenal, and I really hate him every time we play against you. But then I do like him, and that's at Barnes.
Yeah, I knew it.
Man, you know what I mean? I don't know, right? I hate, right, when we're playing against you, I hate that guy, right? But I see the appeal of him because he's so annoying, man. Yeah. And sometimes you need a player like that in your team, that little niggly guy, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, we call him the shithouse because he just throws his arms about. He don't rest.
Well, that's a perfect name for him. That's him, yeah. That's him. I remember last time he's down at Emirates, man, he was winding up all the fans down there.
Yeah, he loves it. He loves it. We love him for it. Yeah. We love him. I mean, and obviously, it's one of them. Everyone hates him because of that, but you'd love him on your team. Everybody would. And if it's not him specifically, a player like him.
Yeah, listen, sometimes those players, you need them in your team. You need them in your team. They give you that little extra edge, So, it's not that I'd want him, but I see the appeal of him.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying with Bryce, man. He has all these type of players. That's what you call a team. You know what I mean? He's put together a team that can compete in the Premier League. And that's what I'm saying. That's not an easy thing to do, because you can go out there and you can spend a load of money. I remember a couple of seasons ago, Fulham came up and they spent loads of money. But the players that they bought did not fit the Premier League. They weren't a team to compete in the Premier League. They were good players, but Dyche has put together a team that competes, and he's got a style of play that works for him. So you got to give him respect for that.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with that. Let's actually talk about the actual game then. So what sort of game are you expecting? Because like you say, no one likes coming to Burnley. No one expects to leave Burnley with a 4-0 win, apart from maybe City fans, and 3 points in the back pocket guaranteed. You're in with a battle. So what game are you expecting today against Burnley?
Do you know what? I think the sort of strange thing about this one is normally we'd be coming to Burnley and maybe we would have played during the week and Burnley would have had a whole week off because we'd have been playing in Europe, and it's kind of roles reversed now because we've had a whole week off. We played our game last week Saturday. Saturday we played again. Was Saturday? Sunday. Just asking my brother here. Last week Sunday we played, and it was like an early kickoff, right? And we beat Leicester 3-1, comfortable win, and we've had the whole week to just chill out, right? Whereas you guys had a game during the week, quite a tough game against Leicester. Yeah. So I think possibly we could come into the game a bit fresher than you guys. You know what I mean? Because which is normally unusual, because normally we're coming off of the back of some sort of European battle, So and I think it's all going to be how Arsenal start the game. There's been a few games recently where Arsenal started the game with a real high intensity. And I hope that they start like that against Burnley. I think Burnley's one of those teams you can't afford to, just let them sort of ease into the game and then start playing their game against you. You have to go and impose your game. I think that's why City always do. You said it in your preview. That's why City always do well against you guys, because they kind of impose their game on you. I think we need to try and do that as well. And we did that very well against Leicester. We did that against Leeds when we played them recently. I know you guys are a different style of team, but I want to see us go and impose our style of play and impose and play with a lot of intensity. And I think I also think it might be a much changed Arsenal. It's going to be really interesting to see what the team is. Because we have a very important game next week, Thursday, against Olympiacos. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see quite a few players rested. But then he did that last week. He rested a lot of players last week in the game against Leicester. And the team that came in performed brilliantly. Yeah.
Fair enough. Who do you want to see starting for Arsenal then? Because I had a question from Lewis Porter earlier on. Apologies, Lewis, I can't find it. He was asking about the left back position, Bellerin, and is it Cedric as well, who can play there? Then right you've got
left back.
Sorry. And so what sort of team do you want to see out then? Do you want to what sort of players would you be expecting to start today?
Well, I'm thinking, like, in my view, I mean, we did in our preview, we did our teams, and I was like, let's rest Kieran Tierney because he's such an important player for Arsenal, but we need him for that Olympiacos game. And he's a guy that does pick up quite a lot of injuries. So I might possibly go with like him, Kieran Tierney left out, and maybe play Cedric on the left and Bellerin on the right-hand side. Maybe David Luiz and Gabriel. I might bring Gabriel in because Chris Wood's a physical guy. So is Gabriel. I think one thing about Arsenal that you might see that might surprise you a bit is that they're not really that soft touch no more. That's one thing under Arteta. They're not that team that years ago Burnley would have bullied up. There's a few guys in there now, like David Luiz is a very combative guy. So is Gabriel. So is Xhaka. So and there's a few spiky guys in Arsenal's team as well. So I think Yeah, I think Tierney. I'm not sure if I'd play Thomas Partey in this game as well. Again, is another guy's carried a few injuries, and we need him for Thursday. But I do think he might start because he hasn't had a lot of game time recently. And then the other two, I guess, that might be left out, maybe Aubameyang. I think maybe he might not start because we might need him for Thursday. And Saka. Saka was left out last week. He's played a lot of games. He's been our best player this season. Yeah. But it wouldn't surprise me if he's left out because, as I said, that game on Thursday against Olympiacos, no disrespect to Burnley, but that game is absolutely huge for Arsenal. So I can see him leaving those players. But he left them out last week against Leicester. And he brought in Willian and he brought in Lacazette up front. And they performed, and he brought in Pepe, and they were brilliant. Pepe was unplayable last week. He's a good player. He's just inconsistent, but when he gets it right, he can be sublime, and he was last week. So I expect a very similar team to what played against Leicester.
Yeah. Yeah, well, if Arteta does rest a few players, obviously Burnley fans will be open. We can take advantage of that. I thought we played okay against Leicester. I thought you played better against Leicester, to be fair. So if you want to use that as a comparison, then and you could be going into this game with a bit of confidence. But we'll get some predictions. We're getting towards the half an hour mark. That's always when I like to keep the show sort of like short and sweet, half an hour. I think any longer is going on a bit too long when these sort of interviews. But it's been a pleasure to have you on, Robbie. But obviously, I'll get your predictions before we do sign off. What you're expecting result-wise from today's game?
It's always tight when we come up your place. I mean, excuse me, we've had victories there in recent years, but as I always told the whole story, I remember that Koscielny one when he scored in the last minute.
No,
we were talking about that the other day.
Threw it into his net. Threw it into your net.
We were talking the other day. We said if there was VAR, no chance.
No chance.
No chance. But I'm going to go 2-1. I just think that, that win last week against Leicester, was very, very convincing. And I just think that the fact that you guys have had you had that game during the week, tough game during the week. We've had a whole week to rest. That might be to our advantage. We might be a bit fresher than Burnley. That's what I'm thinking. So I'm going to go. It'll be a tight game. It's always tough against you lot. You're some hard bastards up there. So I'm going 2-1. 2-1.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm on Lewis's side here. I'm going to sit on the fence slightly, but I'm going for a 1-1. I say sit on the fence. 1-1's a good result for us against an Arsenal side that are going to be coming into this with the tails up. And as you say, I've had a rest. So if I was offered a draw now, I'd snap your hand off. But yeah, I'm going to go 1-1 Burnley. But yeah, I'd take that all day long, to be honest. And I think then we can start, especially if we win today, I think we can stop looking over our shoulder. And I know I said that was going to be the last question. Sorry,
I was going to say, because you guys, I guess you still a bit in relegation. I can't see Burnley getting dragged.
Yeah, well, that was my next question anyway. I was going to ask if you thought we'd go down, but obviously you don't think we will.
No, I don't. I think, listen, there's two teams are gone, right? West Brom are gone, Sheffield United, they're gone. Them two are gone, right? I don't think Fulham will go. I think Newcastle are in big trouble. I really do. Yeah. They've got a lot of injuries at the moment to really, really key players. I think they could be in trouble. So, but I don't think Burnley. No, Burnley. If Burnley, listen, how I look at Burnley under Sean Dyche, if they've got 4 games left and they need to get 2 victories and a draw, they'll get it. Yeah. Whereas if I look at Newcastle, I could not guarantee that the way they are. And that's what I say again when I go back to the whole thing with Dyche. Look at the players that Newcastle have got. How can they be in that predicament? So, yeah, I think Burnley are safe. I don't think Burnley are going to go down.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I agree with the Newcastle thing. I do think it'll be either one of Fulham or Newcastle. It's interesting that Fulham have got a bit of a tough run at the minute. So it'll be interesting to see where they are at the end of that.
But Fulham are playing a lot better football than Newcastle. And then I think Brighton as well. They've got to get their act together as well. Because Fulham are only 3 points behind Newcastle, Brighton. I think 3 points behind Newcastle. So, and as I said, Fulham, when I've seen them play, if they had a goal scorer, they play good football. So, whereas Newcastle don't play good football unless they got like Callum Wilson playing. And Brighton, again, they just don't put away their chance. They play good football, but they don't put away their chances. So it's going to be interesting, but I don't think Burnley will be in it.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned Brighton. One of the lads that does have a watch along with us, which we will be doing later today, everybody in the comments. It won't be me, Simon and Jared. It'll be Johnny and Kieran on the watch along today. But Johnny, who watches the watch along, describes Brighton as all fart, no smell. And it's perfectly way of describing them because they do all the build up, but they can't put the ball. I do not see the fascination with Brighton and Potter. I don't see it.
Yeah, they do play some really good football, but the problem is in the Premier League, right, is if you don't have that player, especially when you play that style of football, if you don't have that player who can put the ball away, you got problems. You know what I mean? You either need a few guys that score regularly, or you need that 20 goal a year striker, and they haven't got it. I think Newcastle do have it in Callum Wilson, but he's injured and he's got, he's going to be out for a little bit. I think he's not back until like towards the end of April. They could be right in it by then. So, but I don't think, as I said, I don't think you guys will be involved in that. I think you get out of it, but hopefully you don't start that journey today. You can start that from next week.
Yeah, it's one of them, isn't it? I think we need 2 wins, and there's like 12 games left. Burnley can get 2 wins in 12 games. Hopefully, I don't. This end up being clipped up and being turned into a meme by a Blackburn fan when we've been relegated. Yeah, I think we'll be fine. But that's it then from this week's pre-game show. Robbie, thank you very much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and it's been really good to pick your brains about Burnley and Arsenal. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to sort of like 400 subs at the minute, so it'd be great if you could help us out if you like the content. More interviews coming up as well. So yeah, fingers crossed. It's all good stuff coming up from the channel. But we will be live for a watch along on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch at around an hour and a half, 2 hours. Little bit, 2 hours, 50 minutes time. We'll be live again. So thank you very much, Robbie, again. Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to do something next season because we'll be in the Premier League and playing against you.
Gosh, man, I mean, I've just missed going to games.
Yeah, same.
So listen, Burnley got a lovely chip shop just on the way out.
Oh, the Parkview, is it the Parkview? The Parkview chipper, lovely chipper, Parkview.
It's like you're on your way out of the town. So you go right up a hill, and you sort of just before you hit like the road to come away, there's like this chip shop. That's our stop every year on the way out.
I'm not sure. That's not the Parkview. That's not the Parkview. Trying to work which
Parkview. Right, you're gonna have to recommend that one to be next.
The Parkview is near the ground, and that's where all the Burnley fans go. You should see the line. It's ridiculous on a match day. There's obviously the cricket club as well. There's a cricket club.
Yeah, if that's where all the Burnley fans go, I'm not too sure if we've just had a victory. Not too sure if that's the best place to go and eat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, true. If we beat you, you could nip down, definitely.
Yeah. Definitely. Then I'm not hungry then. If you beat me, I'm not hungry. I want to go home.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But yeah, we'll have to sign off, Robbie. It's been an absolute pleasure. You've been a brilliant guest. Thank you for coming on, and hopefully we'll see you next season.
Thank you, mate.